Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Ariston and today we're going to talk about Python dictionary comprehensions. So if you're excited, let's go ahead and let's start coding. Alright, so before we run any Python code, the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we have Python installed in our local machine. So if you have been using Python in the past and you are sure that you have it in your local machine, feel free to skip this part. And for those who are not yet sure, you can open up your CMD or command prompt in Windows. And if you are using a Mac, you can open CSH or the Z shell. So in the IDE that I'm currently using, which is Visual Studio Code, we also have a way to be able to open the integrated terminal. So here, you just can create or click this button right here to be able to open the terminal, or you can also use this button. And lastly, you can also use the shortcut key, which is Control and backtick. So here on this terminal, we're going to type Python -- version. So if you press enter, it will return to you the Python version that is currently installed in your local machine. In my end, that would be Python 3.11.9. So if it doesn't return to you anything or an error, it might mean that you don't have Python installed in your local machine. Don't worry, what you can do is you can open up your favorite browser and you want to search for python.org/downloads. In this page, it would show you the latest version of Python available for your operating system. In my end, I'm currently using a Windows machine, so the latest current version at the time of recording is Python 3.12.4. And in the future, there's a high chance that this will be updated, but don't worry, all of the codes that we're going to use for today will also work on your version as well. So once you downloaded the installer, you can install it in your local machine. Then you can go back to CMD, Z shell, or in this case, a terminal in VS Code, and then you can type Python -- version again. So if it returns to you the Python version, you are now ready and set. But if you're using Visual Studio Code and it doesn't return to you anything, even if you are sure that you have already installed it, just restart the Visual Studio Code and then open it up again, and hopefully it would open it would return to you the Python version if you use Python -- version. Alright, so once that is done, you can now create a folder inside of your local machine. I already created mine and named it Python Dictionary Comprehension. Then inside of this folder, I also created a file, a Python file. We have here .py at the end with the same name. So for today, we're going to talk about dictionary comprehension. Dictionary comprehension is a way for us to be able to create a new dictionary that is easy to read, and we're going to do that by iterating over an iterable. This could be a list, a tuple, and we were going to apply an expression to generate the key value pairs. And this is the general syntax of dictionary comprehension that we can use later on as a reference. So let us go ahead and start. For us to be able to appreciate dictionary comprehensions a lot better, we're going to use first the traditional methods that we often use to solve a particular task. Then later on, we'll use dictionary comprehension, and let us see how dictionary comprehension helps us to write much more shorter code and much more readable code. So for this one, this would be used to create dictionaries. But first, let us create two lists. So we have the names list. So this would store the names of the characters in SpongeBob. So for the first one is SpongeBob. Then the second one is Patrick. Then we have Squidward. So let's create another list that would store their homes. So homes. So for SpongeBob, SpongeBob is living in a pineapple. So for Patrick, Patrick is living under a rock. So for Squidward, I believe that is called a moai. So correct me if I'm wrong. Then on this one, we want to create a dictionary that would use the elements inside of the names list as its keys. Then the elements inside of the homes list as its values. So we're going to say names _ homes _ dictionaries right here. We'll set this to an empty dictionary for now. Now what we want to do is we want to use what we call the zip function. The zip function would accept multiple iterables, and it would pair each of the elements inside of that iterable into a tuple. So we're going to say for the names, or name and then home, in the output of the zip function. So we will pass here the names and the homes list that we have as iterables. Then we'll try to print first the value for the name underscore home. So print name underscore home. Running this, we will see that it returns to us a tuple. The first element is the character, which is SpongeBob. The second element is the home of SpongeBob, which is a pineapple. Now what we want to do is we want to unpack both of these values into separate variables. So let's say, let us create the name variable and home variable right here. Then for much more readability, I'm going to add here parentheses. So running this, we can see that they are now separate. We have SpongeBob and pineapple. They are not inside a tuple anymore. Now what we want to do is we want to add the name as the key, then home as the value for the names homes dictionary for each iteration. So for that, we're going to call names homes dictionary. Then we're going to pass square brackets. This would accept the key. The key is the name. Then the value would be the home. Now, after this iteration, we're going to print the new value for the names homes dictionary. So we're going to call this as the traditional method, comma, the names homes dictionary right here. And running this, we can see it returns to us a dictionary that would use the name as the key, the value as the home that we have right here. So let me clear this out. So what if we want to use the dictionary comprehensions to achieve the same result? So for that one, first thing that we're going to do is maybe, let me add it right here. Let's create the names homes dictionary version 2. So for this one, we will set this to a pair of curly brackets. Then we're going to use this syntax that we have right here. Now for the key expression, we don't want to update the key. We just want to add it. So we're going to pass here the name and then separate it with a colon. Then we're going to pass the home as the value. Now this name and home would come from the for loop. So let me copy this one right here and then paste it right here. So what we will do here is the same thing. We will loop over each of the elements inside of both of this iterable that we have right here. Then we're going to unpack them into separate variables. We have name and home. Then we want to use the name as the key, home as the value for our new names homes dictionary right here. Now, if we try to print this, this would be using the dictionary comprehension. So let me copy this one right here and paste it right here. Now, if we try to run this, we can see that the traditional method and dictionary comprehension give us the same result right here. So if you compare the code, as you can see, this one is achieved just by using one line, and it achieves the same result as this one that we have right here. So this is the power of dictionary comprehension. It allows us to be able to write much more cleaner and much more shorter code. Now, let's have another example. So the next example that we have right here, we will have a dictionary that would have the key as the student name, and then the score would be the value. Now we're going to call this dictionary test scores. So this one would be a dictionary. The first key would be John. Then the score of John in the exam is 85. Then for Emily, Emily got a score of 92. Then for Jack, Jack got a score of 78. Then for Alice, Alice got a score of 65. Now what we want to do is we want to create another dictionary. So past students. So this dictionary right here, this would store the key and value pair of students who pass the exam. In this case, we're going to have a criteria. The score should be greater than or equal to 75. So we're going to use a for loop. We want to iterate over each of the key and value pair inside of our test scores. So let's go ahead and call for. Then we will have the name and the score. We're going to call the test scores dictionary. Then in dictionaries, we have what we call the items method. Now, this items method would return to us the key and value pair inside of a tuple. Let's try that out. So print the name and score. Let's run this. We can see that we have tuples, and the first element inside of the tuple is the name of the student. Then the next element is the score of the student right here. Now, just like what we do in zip function, we want to also unpack them into two separate variables, the name and the score. Now for readability purposes, I'm just going to add here parentheses, and let's try and run this out. We can see that they are now separate. Let me clear this one. Now what we want to do is we want to add it into the past students dictionary if it passed the criteria. So the criteria would be if the score is greater than or equal to 75. Then we're going to call the past students dictionary. Then we're going to pass square brackets. So the square brackets would accept the name or the key. So that would be the name. Then the value would be the score. So after the iteration, we're going to print the output. So this would be using the traditional method, comma, then call the past students dictionary that we have right here. Let's try to run this. We can see that it returns to us a dictionary, and the only key and value pair right here would be the student who have a score greater than 75. So in our case, we have Alice did not pass the exam. So what if we want to use what we call the filter function? So it can also be used for us to be able to make this a little bit shorter. So for that, we're going to use the filter function. Now the filter function would have two arguments or two parameters. The first parameter is function. Then the second parameter is an iterable. Let's try and use this. So for this one, we're going to create another past students dictionary, but this would be version 2. So if we're going to use the filter function, going to call it filter, then we're going to pass the function and the iterable. The iterable that we have is the test scores dictionary. Then here, we're going to pass a function. So we're going to use lambda for this one. So we will have test scores, and then we will use the dot items method. So this would return a tuple. The first element is the key. The second element is the value. Then we're going to pass here a lambda function. Now a lambda function have this particular syntax. Lambda. Then we have parameters. You can pass multiple parameters, but you can only have one expression. So here, we're going to call lambda. Then the parameter that we will have will be the key and the value that we saw earlier that this returns to us, the items method right here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to write an expression. So once we get the key and value, we want to get the second element. So the second element would have the index of 1 because Python is a zero-based index. Therefore, it would start from the index of 0. Then the next element would be having the index of 1. So that would be the score. Now, what we want to check if the score is greater than or equal to 75. So if it is, we want to add it into the new dictionary that we will have right here. But we need to first convert the filter object that will be returned by the filter function. We want to convert it into a dictionary. So now, if we try to print this would be by using the filter function. This will be the version 2 right here. Let me try and run this. We can see that the traditional method and the filter function both return the same output. Let me try and clear this. You can see here that this one is also one line, and it is also a little bit readable. However, by using the filter function, you need to have the prior knowledge in order for you to use it. So you need to know how lambda works, or how filter function works, and why we want to convert the filter object into a dictionary before you can use the filter function. Now, what if we want to use the dictionary comprehension? So for this one, let's go down, and we're going to create the past students version 3. This will be using the dictionary comprehension. So we're going to pass curly braces, and for this one, we will just want to return the name as the key and the score as the value. Now we want to get this name and score that we have right here from the for loop. So for the name and score in the test scores dictionary .items method right here. Now in our syntax, we have an if condition. So if condition is true. So here the condition we will have if the score is greater than or equal to 75. So it will be added as a key and value pair inside of this dictionary that we have right here. Now we want to print the output. This would be version 3. Then we want to call dictionary comprehension right here. Let me try and run this out. There you go. So we have the same result, but compared to the normal or the traditional way, and then the filter function, the dictionary comprehension is a lot more readable and done in a single line. So this is the power of dictionary comprehension. It allows us to be able to create a new dictionary that is easy to read and much more clearer. So I hope you liked the video that we have for today about dictionary comprehensions, and if you do, can you press the like button, and then you can also subscribe to the One Code Camp channel for you to not miss any videos in the future. Thank you very much everyone, and have a good day.